This is part two of my consideration of Randy Clarke's views on libertarian free will. And so this is from an article that he wrote many decades ago now, Toward a Credible Agent-Causal Account of Free Will. And we're looking at an objection to his view and then see how he develops it a little bit more. And I'll add a couple comments about what he's done in the last couple decades in terms of thinking about causation especially. So first, the objection to his view. It's the rational-explicability objection, as he calls it, and it's about timing. So the fact that the agent causes the action can't explain the timing of the action. That is, it can't explain why the action occurred at this point rather than some other point, some other time, either earlier or later than the action. And his response is that if there's an event, such as the agent having new reasons to act, then that explains why she acted now rather than at some other time. That's perfectly plausible since he's integrating event causation with agent causation, according to Clarke, right? So both agent causal accounts and event causal accounts have the same explanation available. That event of the new reason to act can explain why the action occurred at a certain time. So the occurrence of prior events is going to be necessary, but it's still not going to be sufficient condition of an agent causing a certain action, right? Without those prior events, the later events not going to be naturally possible. But those prior events do not guarantee that the action is going to occur, right? The prior events are necessary, but not sufficient. So a person is free, but they are acting with reasons. These are not uncaused, of course. So when an agent acts with free will, she acts on certain reasons rather than other reasons. That's her action. She might have other reasons to do something else, but a free action is when she's acting on the reasons she has for doing what she did, right? Her acting for reasons are ordered in a particular way, maybe by weight or significance. So the agent has ordered these reasons for acting, and that's how you can have reasons going in reasons to take one action and reasons to take a different action, or just fail to take that one action under consideration. So her acting for that ordering of reasons is itself a complex event that consists then in part of her behaviors being caused by those reasons. So the action of ordering the reasons is actually a complex event that she is doing, and that is a free action. Okay, so she's acting on reasons, which means that she has reasons for the action she takes. Now, Clarke does consider a different possibility, right? What he's focusing on is the free will that's desirable primarily because it involves choosing among several alternatives that are rational to pursue, right? So you have reasons to take one path, you have reasons to take an alternative path, and you act on reasons in either case. Now, he does say that freedom of the will might consist partly in the ability to behave irrationally, right? So that could be, and maybe there's even some value in that. There might be valuable artistic expressions that might not be rational for direct reasons. And we often have decisions, though, that involve two choices with equally good reasons to act. And that's the situation when it's most desirable. So an example that Clarke gives is going surfing or going downhill skiing. Right? So he has the weekend opened, and he can choose to go to the beach or go to the mountains. And they're equally good opportunities if somebody desires to do both of those things, right? And then you might order the reasons and choose to do one rather than another. Now, Clarke also considers somebody who seems to do something against reason, somebody who smokes. But of course, what's going on when the person is smoking is they have probably judged, at least in the past, that health risks are less important than the pleasure of smoking, right? They're less important than the irritability that would result from not smoking. So a person is rational in that sense. Now consider that, I put it in past tense here, consider that same person who then quits smoking, right? That means that there's a later time that she values her health more, and she changes her ordering of the reasons that she has to smoke, and then she can quit smoking, right? It's the ordering of reasons, right? So it's not irrational for that person to be smoking. Again, there's this judgment about health risks versus pleasure and the irritability, and it might be rational to make that judgment. Of course, later she may come to see that the health risks are too great, and so she changes her ordering. Now, agent causation is a relation. And Clarke is claiming that what he's doing here, and there are certainly loose ends, some of which I've hinted at, that need to be developed a little bit more. But he says he's merely starting this account. What he's trying to do is provide an account that we'll talk about in a moment that is consistent with science, right? So agent causation is a relation. And the first relatum is going to be the agent that's acting. The second relatum is the event that's occurring. And agents are never the second relatum. They're only the first relatum. So the agent's not identical to any event. The agent herself is not identical to any event, any property facts, state of affairs. And here we're getting into the metaphysics of personhood a little bit. What are persons? But Clarke says that a person is not identical to any of those things, or even a collection of those things. Now, that is something that some metaphysicians disagree about, but that's Clarke's view on personhood. And so that's his view on what an agent who's acting on free will is. So the only difference between agent causation then and event causation are the two relata involved. With agent causation, you have a relata that is a person, a relatum, sorry, that is a person. Okay, so let's talk about causation a little bit. According to Clarke, causation is one of the most basic constituents of the universe, and as such is not reducible to something else. So that means that an event causes another event just in case this relation of causation obtains between them, and you can't further describe it. It doesn't get reduced any further below that, so to speak. So causal relations are grounded in laws of nature, and these are second order relations among universals. So now here, again, he's taking some specific views on metaphysics with causation and personhood, and this is a particular view on causation within the realm of metaphysics. So other people will agree or disagree with this. This is the view developed by Michael Tooley, also very thoroughly developed by David Armstrong. So it is not consistent with a view of causation that is Humean, one that David Lewis develops. So this is a relation between a person and her action when she acts with free will. That's what's going on. That's the causal connection. Okay, so as I hinted earlier, these are all within the laws of nature, says Clarke. This isn't some miracle that occurs when somebody acts freely. Now, it could be that perhaps the only agent who cause things are those who have the property of being capable of reflective practical reason. So it is a rare kind of occurrence, right? Most causation is not like that. But there might be a law of nature to the effect that any individual who does act with reflective reasoning acts with free will, right? It could be that when an agent acts with free will, there's this necessary connection that the agent is acting with the capacity for reflective rational self-governance, self-reasoning. So there might be that necessary connection, but it could be a law of nature. So natural laws might subsume all free action without undermining the freedom with which humans act. So it is still indeterministic, but within the realm of the natural laws. And since it's within the laws of nature, it's going to be consistent with science. Now, again, he calls his view programmatic. He says we cannot introspectively observe agent causation. It's not something that's just there that we can see, so to speak, but this is consistent with probabilistic laws of nature. And the view doesn't contribute to a scientific understanding of human actions. It's not really doing that because of that probabilistic aspect. But importantly for Clarke, it doesn't detract from a scientific understanding of human actions. So how does the argument go then for Clarke's overall view? Why should you think that his view is correct? Well, we are morally responsible agents. And if we're morally responsible agents, then we act with free will, right? Free will is necessary for moral responsibility. And if we act with free will, then determinism is false, which is, of course, incompatibilism and something held by all libertarians. And then if determinism is false and we act with free will, Clarke says what that means is we agent cause our actions. And if we have agent causation going on, right, if our acting with free will requires agent causal actions, then of course that freedom is going to be how Clarke presented it. So this is an argument for his view. He certainly does not claim to establish the 5 propositions listed here. He only claims to argue that we should consider seriously his account that is provided. And one of the things that I'll mention here in wrapping up is his emphasis on event causation has decreased, I should say, through the years, so that more recently he's been looking at causation theories of causation that involve substances rather than events. So instead of events causing events causing events, he's considering the idea that there are substances in nature that can cause events, more broadly speaking, than agents with free will. And so that's somewhat of a change from how he presented this earlier, but he's still working within the overall framework of consistently describing free will within a scientific account, within the laws of nature, and how agents cause events through their rational deliberation.